The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight.
I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Good day to you and welcome to Souq News, and we are reaching you live from our studios in Lagos. I am Oyinpriye Krumale. Now, every May the 1st, what is called International Workers' Day holds globally across the world, and Nigeria is not an exemption for that. It's a day where normally world workers from So today we will be looking at the impact of labor in its contribution to development across the world. I'm not having the conversation by myself alone with the camera. I have two colleagues here. Hello. May Day to you. Or happy May Day to you.
So there's this argument as regards calling it work.
Point there, but I think the essence is to celebrate workers. So I think sticking with Workers' Day makes more sense.
Let the worker.
May the 1st, then we know it's Workers' Day. I didn't forget to tell you my name. Oyin Priye Krumale is my name.
My name is Omobola Sandra. You're welcome.
And I'm Olumide Shokoya.
We are not all unaware of the tampering with any administration that comes to power in Nigeria, and I dare say, even during the military administrations coming to the civilian administration, the Nigerian Labour Congress will always flex their muscle, and it seems as if it's been a force. Do they really need to tell the government of the day that, look, we are here, and we are either going to hold you on the jugular to get what Nigerian workers deserve, or we're just going to flex our muscles because we need to let you know they're here. So workers generally, NLC, TUC, Mr. Festus Osifo and Mr. Joe Ajero, how have they contributed using the instrument of NLC and TUC to business, economy, or development? I know we have various points to talk about, but let me hear from any of you.
Well, all right. If you look at NLC, let's starting from way back. I mean, the days of Oshomole, he was very vocal.
Was very vocal.
He was very vocal. He sort of like brought the government to their knees. But these days, not to say, not to discredit Joe Ajaro's work, he has done a whole lot. I mean, if you look at minimum wage and all that, he tried, he did something. But people have attributed this present administration of the NLC to be, they just come up and say, okay, if you... that somehow they would get the government to, answer them, because strike is one of the ways, or shall I say the last resort for NLC to get the government to the table. And truly, it almost worked. But then again, NLC, this dispensation of NLC, as we all know it, they say, oh, we are going on a strike, and maybe the wee hours to that strike, they call it off. And people tend to wonder, should we actually believe, are they actually fighting for it? Because one of their sole purposes is workers' advocacy, that they advocate for workers, better minimum wage, better working conditions and all that. So, and I feel sometimes people have also said that strike is not the only way, the other elements of dialogue and all that. But it seems as if the government is not really, or shall I say, the government really listening to them.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the strike. The which that brought to light the fact that NLC TUC basically speaks for civil servants. We have the private sector. They contribute about 60% to the workforce in the country. Who speaks for them? What is NLC doing for the people in the private sector? What about them? Because when the conversation came down as regards the minimum wage negotiations and all, it came down to NLC, it came down to TUC, and it came down to the government. But you had the organized private sector maligned in one way or the other.
Were they maligned?
Sidelined, rather. I think the word would be sidelined.
Oh, okay.
So they were sidelined. But the private sector, contributes about 60% of the workforce. I feel like they're not being spoken for. And just as you said as well, I think there's a trust deficit from the workers on the NLC and the TUC. I don't think they trust them anymore. It's like, oh, we're going on strike, and then there's a conversation. Are they really speaking for us? Or are they just, when they go in there, they come out, they go in there, fire and brimstone, and they come out shaking hands and laughing and all of that. So I just believe that there's more that the Joe Ajaro administration can do. There's more that the Alex Osifo can do. And I would appeal to them to do something for the organized private sector?
Okay, I want to look at it from probably 3 or 2 perspectives. The first one is the inception of the current administration. And the current administration, the National Minimum Wage Act specified that the minimum wage of Nigeria should be reviewed every 5 years.
Yes.
If it should be reviewed every 5 years, that means every 5 years, if workers are, the minimum wage is 70,000 naira, the next 5 years it should be reviewed and taken maybe up to 85 or 90,000 naira, and every 5 years it keeps going on. When the new administration came in, it reviewed it and removed it from reviewing the minimum wage for every 5 years to 3 years, which I think it's a plus. And not just that, it moved the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70 or 77,000 naira. We know that as it is at the moment, not all the 36 states in the federation are paying that amount of money to Nigerian workers, but a few other states.
Less than 10.
No, I think about 20 or so.
Some are
are paying more. Lagos is paying 85,000 naira.
You mean the states
not made real their promises are considered as those who have not actually started paying. So it's going to be about 16 states thereabout. However, for this administration, I want to give kudos to the Joe Ajero, not just his administration, but to the workers' union, because Omobola, they were saying we should stop talking about them as if they are doing good and well. I think it's time for a break. We're going to break shortly.
Workers' Day means the day to celebrate the resilience, commitment, and hard work of workers the world over. It is a day set aside to celebrate them and to remind themselves and the society of their struggle, their challenges, and the fact that the workplace should be safer, more conducive, and more encouraging.
Actually, I think Workers' Day is the day when workers can actually have freedom, they can have a break, even though it's just a day or the day. It's a day that I think many workers appreciate because they are able to enjoy just this moment. Those even though it's very short moment of enjoyment, I guess.
Workers' Day is a day when we commemorate the hard work and the dedication of people who make our nation great. So it's the day we have to celebrate workers all across the nation.
Workers is a day we celebrate workers.
If we have to change anything about the working condition in Nigeria, it is to raise the wages and to make it correspond with the current inflation realities.
One thing I would change, especially in private institutions, that workers should be paid based on the work that they bring to the table, like based on their efforts, the tasks that they are doing.
What will be the standard of living? The standard of living, it's well, it doesn't really, it's not really the same as the amount of work that Nigerians put into their daily endeavors. Nigerians are very hardworking people. I think we all know that. But then, the standard of living is just it's not complementing their efforts.
First day we change that minimum wage, please increase it, and workers maybe getting the staff boss or worker staff boss so that they can be comfortable. Accommodation. This is accommodation. First thing, you have to do the accommodation for the workers of this country. Some people lament about accommodation. This is very worse now.
Well, I think I'm going to definitely look into increasing the standard of living, not necessarily the minimum wage or anything like that, because if inflation defeats the purpose, then, I mean, purpose is defeated, but if I can find ways to alleviate the suffering by increasing the standard of living, I will do that.
I think workers should not be going to work every day. It should be a remote job.
Are workers celebrated enough in Nigeria? No, I don't think workers are celebrated enough in Nigeria. In there is still casualization of labor. Some workers are treated shabbily. There are some instances workers are not given their dues when there are injunctions from the holy books and even our laws that laborers should be paid immediately and do not allow their sweat to get dry before you pay them.
Yes. See, we are in stadium. On workers, the people don't come. They will be in their house sleeping. It's a day of joy. We workers should create a time for ourselves. Let's merit. Let's enjoy ourselves. With our money, work for it. So let's create a time for ourselves to hang out. Not every time work. To ease the stress of the country.
Majorly, I would say salary is not enough. And also, as a woman personally, face bias at work. Like they feel as if, okay, you and a man who you are doing the same job tax, you are paid lesser than what a man is being paid.
As a worker, I would say my biggest challenge is poor infrastructure. Yeah, electricity, even the quality of telecommunications, energy. It's just very, very poor, and it's a big challenge.
Come to work, it's a big challenge. The transport is so high.
Happy workers to Nigerian workers and workers all over.
You guys, when you brought me in the first time,
Nigerians and the world at large.
Happy Workers' Day to workers all across Nigeria and the whole world.
Happy Workers' Day to Nigeria and happy Workers' Day to the world at large.
Happy Workers' Day to every workers in Nigeria and the whole world.
Happy Workers' Day for everybody in Nigeria, that is it. It's more progress for everybody workers in Nigeria.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions. all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
Quite expensive and their citizens are buying it. Why can't Nigeria, why can't we have fuel prices that expensive? Or why can't we increase the fuel price? And the current administration came and tactically increased it. How? By removing fuel subsidy. So the thing is, are we having an equitable, livable wage to survive in Nigeria, or probably in Lagos, as the case may be, since we're here?
Well, first off, I'll start with, I think we should give kudos to Obaseki. It off, and then you have cross rivers where you have rivers as well. These are states that were, before Lagos came on board, because everybody thought Lagos being the most, successful as regards GDP amongst all the states should be able to pay higher than that. But then, when you have entertainment, you have savings, and all of these things that a household would need funds for as regards being able to have a sustainable lifestyle. And then the conversation around, okay, is this sustainable? Is this something the government can afford? Is this something they can move on with? Or is happening in the state. This is what a bag of rice costs in the state. This is what transport will cost you, because Lagos is a different conversation entirely. Abuja is a different conversation entirely. You can't put us on the same on that they could, but I think at this point now, it's a conversation of the state chairman. What did they do? What were they able to do? And then the governors. The governors said they couldn't afford some governors. Pray you know that there were some governors that were not even paying the 30,000 naira minimum.
Yes, yes.
As at when it
they
was
resorted back to the 18,000
They
naira.
were still paying 18,000 naira. There were some governors that could not pay the 30,000, and you're telling them to pay 70,000 naira. There are some governors that are heavily dependent on FAC allocation. They don't have anything, any production in the state. They don't have anything that they can bank on as a state that they can afford to be able to pay this 70,000. So it all boils down to a lot of factors.
So whose fault is it if the state governors or NLC at the federal level, because NLC at the federal level is not detached from NLC at the state level, the convergence of NLCs at the state level, produce the NLCs at the federal level. And when the federal level, gives a demand, it will be reflected in the state. However, it is more logical than you said that the state chairman should carry out the conversation by liaising and negotiating with the governors at those levels. So Olumide,
I would not necessarily, I blame the state chairman also. Because when this whole talk about minimum wage came up, I thought that this would be an opportunity for states to internally generate revenue for themselves. Take a look at when former President Olusegun Obasanjo stopped revenue to Lagos. Lagos started generating revenue internally. Now, if you look at it, correct me if I'm wrong, I think virtually all states are blessed with minimal resources. So we can actually look
Every
inward
state in the country
and see what do we have, what can we generate. Different states are blessed with different minerals. So what can we generate? But if states are looking forward to allocation from the federal government, I feel it's a lazy way of just running the state. You can actually do something with your state. Lagos did something. That is why everybody's rushing to Lagos, because Lagos did something. Other states can do it. I know Ogun State is coming up, Ibadan too, or your state, and some other states are actually doing well.
Olumide, some states will now argue with you and say, oh, in our states, it's basically a civil servant state.
Osun State.
I didn't want to mention it, but some states would argue and say we barely produce anything in our states because we're basically civil servants.
That's
80% of the work of the economy of that state is heavily dependent on the salary of civil servants.
Okay, so one thing I don't want to further the conversation when it comes to state governors. I want us to limit our conversation on NLC and its impact. Now, if not for the Nigerian Labour Congress, I bet things would have been worse, because there has not been any, I can't actually point to any policy framework that was independently arched by a state governor or from the federal level, backed up by objective intentions to drive the welfare of workers in the country, either at the federal level or the state level. Labor must always come into the picture to drag the leadership before they start paying attention. And before they do that, even before they do that, they keep stalling. They will have conversation today. They will tell you we are meeting the next day. This is the demand. We are going to implement our part. Memorandum of understanding and memorandum of commitment would have been signed, and it's there on black or white on the table. And before you know it, the government will renege. And this has been stalling. That's one of the reasons why in your first analysis, you were talking about the organized private sector. They contribute a whole lot to the economy, about 60%. Yes. But who represents the organized private sector? The organized private sector are represented by businessmen who are capitalists. So the private employer, or employees rather, that works in private organization, they do not even have the wherewithal or the muscle to call out their organizations for welfare packages that, look, you're not treating me fairly. And because according to Nigerian labor laws, this is what is stated, that I don't even need to negotiate about this in my employment letter, in my place of work, before you start giving attention to it. It's not a condition when it comes to things about HMOs. It's not that there's no condition to surround that, because the law stipulates the fact that if the number of your employees exceeds or gets to a particular number of people, they are responsible for some packages. So the Nigerian Labour Congress, like you rightly said, fights for those who are in the civil service. But they are not doing that for the civil servants alone. They are doing it generally. Maybe we should be talking about the support of Nigerians who are either running private businesses or who are employees working in private organizations who are not having specific dealings with the federal or state governors or local governments, and they give labor their entire support. Do you think labor is having entire support of Nigerians, even from the private sector? Do you think we're
Now, I was going to say that when we look at strike, who is the most affected? The private sector. Because it disrupts business. When there's strike, business disrupt. They can't make money. So each time labor calls for strike, they need to factor in the private sector. How would they be able to cushion this effect? Because they will be affected the most. So how would they be able to cushion this effect? That is why she said they were not being carried along. Now let's face it, let's really face it. Minimum wage 70,000. How many of these entrepreneurs can pay minimum 70,000?
Aside from that, so thank you. Priya, there's also another thing that you need to highlight. I'm sorry, I have to come back to the state chairman, because we all know that even with this 70,000 naira approval, it still boiled down to the fact that the state governors are the ones that will decide whether or not state civil servants will get paid that 70,000 naira. So there's still a lot that needs to be done at the federal level as regards NLC for the federal workers, for the state workers, and for the organized private sector. We also have the informal sector, but nobody is even talking about that. You know, and then we also have the rise of the hybrid sector. Because, you know, you have people who are working 3 times a week, or who are on site 3 times a week, off site twice a week, and all of that. Those people, and then 2 days they're off. What happens? Do they have access to HMO? There's a lot of ambiguity, you know, surrounding even this labor law that we keep quoting, especially with the fact that some of these labor laws were enacted years ago. Are there updates on them? Shouldn't NLC also focus on the system itself rather than pushing for higher pay?
Yes.
Shouldn't the system itself be worked on? Attention as well. The system needs to be looked at. The laws, the labor laws, do they still resound in 2025, these labor laws? It's a global village now. Things are changing. Trump is coming up with tariffs and all of that. Of course, businesses are affected. A lot of employers are looking at how they can run operational costs, reduce operational costs and all of that. Are you looking at how to ensure that it's a win-win for the employer and the employee? I just feel like there's a lot that still needs to be.
Okay.
Just to add to what she said about labor doing more. If you look, I remember there was a time, I don't know whether it still happens now. There was a time when labor union, labor representatives, they go to companies, organizations, do some bit of inspection, liaise with the workers, how you doing and all that. How many companies are paying pension? How many companies have HMOs? They are vital to the productivity of the employee.
More than minimum wage.
So it's more than minimum wage.
Okay.
We can always say, oh, minimum wage, but there are other underlying factors that need to be addressed.
Okay, I like that perspective. But before we quickly run away and come back for more of this conversation, the Nigerian Labour Congress, one of the benefits that the presence of the Nigerian Labour Congress has been able to achieve in the Nigerian economy is even before the fuel subsidy was removed by the current administration, it lingered quite for a while, for donkey years. And one of the successes behind that was because of the Nigerian Labour Congress, because there had been several administrations who wanted to remove it, because the outcry was that, look, we are spending too much for this, and we need to get it off the book so we can have money. Now that we are having more money, tell me, who's benefiting? The Nigerians, Nigerian laborers, whether you're in the private sector or in the public sector, are you benefiting? No. Okay, when there was fuel subsidy, you said people were stealing the money. Were Nigerians benefiting? Of course, yes, they were benefiting, even though it was minimal. Now that you have removed it, fine, people say it's good. Majority of Nigerians say it's good. Like we saw, yes, it's good. But we are paying very higher. Things have gone up astronomically. The government did not make provisions or to provide a cushioning effect for this purpose. Even though when we were on break, you talked about the 25,000 naira, 40,000 naira wager,
35,000 wage award,
35,000 naira wage award. It started, it stalled. And did you just say that we've started again all of a sudden? Probably maybe 2027 is drawing closer, then we can recommence. And you see, labor will need to be very, very tactical. Go outside the boundaries of payments and go into the provision of social amenities. Go into the provision of building infrastructure. Go into, like, okay, fine, the Lagos state government about the BRT vehicle and the transportation system. And now, can we go into health? Can we replicate that feat in health? Can labor champion that cause? And it should not just be in Lagos. Can we reflect that in Enugu State? Can we do that in Delta State? And not just to have the governor defect to the ruling party, but can we have him abide by such laws? Such laws that you do not need anybody to take you to court. It's a responsibility. It's a fundamental right of the Nigerian worker, as long as you're a citizen of this country. So it should apply to you, and the government should take up that responsibility when it comes to place and not wait for labor to put them into actions. I think these are the fundamental issues, and we cannot entirely remove the legislative arm of government in making sure that some of this.
I was going there. So when you talk about the government and all of that, there's a lot that we also need to the MDAs.
Okay.
You know, they also need to come into place, and also when you have conversations with NLC, are you listening to even the who are you listening to on the side of the organized private sector? Are you listening to the employees or the employers?
Employers, of course.
That's a conversation that needs to be had as well. And also, coming back to labor laws, I think that's another thing that needs to be looked at, because, and I will still come back to the fact that we just major on the minor when it comes to labor welfare or workers' welfare in the country, and we just, overlook a lot of things. There was back in the days where you have, there was free lunch for workers in some places of work.
University students.
Free lunch, they had access to they had free pickup and free drop-off. So you don't have to think of food, you don't have to think. And then once you are a worker in a state, school, a state government, or whatnot, you have access to free education for your children as well. All of these things would help to, lessen the burden of this minimum wage. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on the minimum wage at this point now, because the minimum wage, this 70,000 has to cater to food, has to cater to the health, has to cater to education, has to cater to socials as well, because life is not hard.
Two things I would like to add to this. The first one, I remember former Lagos State Governor and former Minister of Works and Housing, Abatunde, he was proposing minimum wage per hour. The conversation started, but I think nothing happened. And, I started looking at the pros and cons of it. Well, the pros are good, but the cons of it now is it might reduce workforce, because
I do not agree, Olumide. I am so sorry, I have to correct you. Last year, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics said that unemployment rate has dropped, and our unemployment rate is 0.1%.
Okay.
Do you know why? We all know that there's a huge unemployment issue. There's a lot of people out there who need jobs. But MBS is telling us that our unemployment rate is very, very low.
Okay.
Why? Because they used a perimeter, or they used the perimeters of the international community, where a worker is determined by the hours of work that you work.
Yes.
And they believe that in Nigeria, if you're working a certain amount of hours, you are a worker.
You are employed.
If you are not, you are employed. If you are not working a certain amount of hours,
You are not employed.
you are not employed. And we all know that, one way or the other, 90% of the people working will fall under that category of employed.
Employed.
But do they have the employment benefits? So I don't think hourly rates would work for us in this country.
Why do you?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't
So
think.
I want you to
hourly
drop.
rates.
I want you to land on that before she came.
I'm looking at the side of the employer and, of course, the employee. Because
On the hourly rates.
On the hourly rate, yes. For the employer, now he has to streamline to those who are actually productive and those who are not productive. Because Nigerians have this predisposition that no matter what happens, I'm going to get my salary. I come to work and I can do whatever I like, and at the end of the month, I get my salary. But when you know that you are going to be assessed...
You say Nigerians, like
Not the
everybody
private
has
sector.
those thoughts. Olumide, have you worked in places? Because when you put it that way, you're making it seem like people have entitlement, this entitlement notion. There are people that are overworked in this country.
True.
There are people that work 12 hours and they are paid 15,000 every month.
That's where I'm going. That is where I'm going.
Please go there.
Those who are working overtime now will be well compensated because it will now be calculated per hour. So those working overtime will get more, and those that are working less would get their fair due.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the origin and the source, or let's say the existence of the May Day, the International Working Day, all started in 1886 from Chicago in the United States of America, where the workers took it upon themselves to come out and protest to demand for 8 hours of work. That's where the International Workers' Day started from. So when they protested concerning that, as time moved on, they achieved it, with India bailing the cart. Well, I just thought to bring that to your notice and take you back to history just a moment. Let's go on a break. When we return, our conversation continues. Just join us again.
When workers do right with their jobs, it reflects in the productivity and growth of the organization. Across the globe, workers are celebrated today for their impact on their respective companies and the nation at large. Wema Bank, in this spirit, is celebrating 80 years of continuous service and a strong growth trajectory, powered by a workforce that represents its channels of progress.
It's Workers' Day 2025, and coincidentally, it's a day Wema Bank have decided to do their work as they celebrate their 80th anniversary. The bank staff have actually flocked the street of Lagos, moving from one location to another, especially to the head office area in Marina, celebrating their 80th anniversary. So much excitement in the air, and we'll be talking to staff members of Wema Bank to know what they mean to them. Stay with us. I am Grace Komolafe.
Today we are marking one of the events leading to the 80th anniversary of Wema. Wema is 80 on May 2nd, which is tomorrow, and we have a long week of celebration. So this Wema Walk is one of those events to mark that anniversary. You know, walking is part of health, and if you are healthy, you will give more to your organization. So as part of this event, we just thought it's a nice thing to do. Get all the workers out, let's gym it out, let's work it out, so that we can improve our health. Well, for the staff, I can tell you, there's no doubt about the fact that our greatest asset are the staff. You can't survive 80 years without dedicated staff. So for us, it's one of those important considerations for us as an organization. that our staff remains the pillar of our success. And we have survived 80 years, and we are preparing for the next 80 years of possibilities.
Oh, we are all excited and all energized for the 80th year anniversary of Wema Bank. So it's May 2nd, we're going to become 80. And all of these are leading activities to the 80th ceremony that is going to take place tomorrow at the hotel.
Differently in Nigeria, there are a couple of things. For me, it's leadership. Our country will progress more than it is progressing now. And we are beginning to see a sign, some little flickers of light that some leadership is beginning to be back, and we should support the current administration.
So there's something called resilience. Wema Bank is the only indigenous bank, or the first indigenous bank that is 80 years old. And it's a testament to commitment. It's a testament that there's a core of the bank that is doing something right. And you'll see that Wema Bank has been out there. We've been impacting lives. I tell you, the bank is going to be here for another 80 years.
If there's one thing I'm happy about being part of Wema, is that this is an organization that pays a lot of emphasis on workers. I feel fulfilled, I feel happy that I'm part of Wema, and I can see the joy in the faces of the employees here. So Wema is for it. Another 80 years to Wema.
So Wema Bank is a pro-people bank, pro-welfare and pro-performance. And so when you combine all of this together, the staff members, the employee are excited because they know that all they need to do is deliver and the bank will take care of them.
As a worker, anywhere, in any place, the challenges is bound to happen, right? So what matters most is what's your inner strength.
Yeah, in Wema Bank, it's all about the employee. That's the greatest resource that the bank has. And it's the biggest asset. They are doing very well, and that's just the resident that I spoke about earlier on. That is why we are all here today, gearing up for another 80 years.
Today we are celebrating Wema Bank at 8 years, and this is so good. I'm so excited to be here. You can see every one of us here celebrating, jubilating for Wema Bank 8 years anniversary.
We are celebrating Wema at 80 today, and this event has been scheduled to work. To walk from Wema head office here down to governor's house. So, and it has been scheduled as part of the program for this 8th anniversary of Wema Bank.
As you can see everywhere, we are celebrating a great place to work, which is Wema Bank. And I'm so happy being Wema Bank today. Wema Bank is a great place to work. And there's a lot of things happening in Wema Bank, a lot, and there's a lot of benefits. And when you get into Wema Bank, then you will know what I'm talking about. And talk about our MD, Mr. Moru Poseni. The MD is doing well, and we are even happy with him. Happy International Workers' Day.
Happy International Workers' Day. I love you.
As we commemorate Workers' Day today, let us all emulate positive influence to better ourselves, our workplaces, and our country at large. Grace Komalafe, Souq News Television.
My name is Shino Ogbadegeshin. I'm the CEO Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Arton Keme. I am the head of MSME Banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souq News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight. I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us today. And we've moved from the number of 3 to the number of 4 in the studio today. We have Bayo Olaoye. He's a veteran journalist and he comes way back. He wants to talk to us about Nigerian Labour Day, May Day, like we called it in the beginning of the program. Welcome once again to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Great.
Yes.
So I begin to think of the exploits of Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress during your time, and what we have currently now on ground. Can you, draw the nexus? Tell us about it.
First and foremost, let me congratulate Nigerian workers on today's Workers' Day. You guys have been very heavy on the NLC and Nigeria. And And I think we should be positive. I think we should be positive what Joe and his colleagues have done. Don't forget that 30 years ago, there was no TUC and NLC collaborating and cooperating on national issues. This has come to stay. And when we remember an enigma called Michael Modu, we know what Nigerian workers have gone through. We also have leaders like Azan Sumonu, Pascal Bafiawu. Although Shemwele was charismatic and, he's an orator, people tend to remember only him. There have been legends in labor practice, and I think we should congratulate the NLC and the TUC for coming together. Before now, 20, 30 years ago, it was acrimony because there was a monopoly of labor unionism in Nigeria. And people thought that we should have different trade union organizations looking at issues on two. So I think between Joe Afiawu, between Joe Ajero and
Festus Osifo,
the Nigerian Labour Front has been united. But certainly there will be challenges and there will be gaps. Gaps in the sense that the Nigerian Labour Front or the Nigerian Labour body should not think of wages alone. I am surprised that, and I'm shocked that Joe and his colleagues have not talked even about the abuse of the rule of law by the federal government.
Okay, before you go into that, Mr. Bayo, now I want you to talk to us about the positive developmental impact that the existence of Nigerian labor has brought to the country itself, that we can see and point to, or that, workers of this age can enjoy or is enjoying?
Well, there have been checks and balances as regards the demeanor and behavior of politicians, especially in the states where the governors are almost emperors. I think the Labour Congress have been able to curtail that, the arrogance and the impunity with which state governors handle the polity. For instance, the minimum wage has not been obeyed, has not been implemented. The local government autonomy that was ordered by the Supreme Court of Nigeria has not been obeyed. The federal government itself is cutting corners as to the implementation of the autonomy of the local government system, which is the nearest to the people. So there you are. Okay. Government itself is foot-dragging and sees labor as an opposition camp of enemies and no do-gooders. So, government has to change, labor has to change too. And there are other issues that I think labor has reneged, especially in the oil and gas industry. They leave it to Pengasson. All the time is Pengasson. Pengasson is the Senior Staff Association, if you know. And I think most of our refineries are now working. We're not even sure what is happening in NNPC.
You said most of our refineries working?
I think all of them are not working. I thought Warri was working.
Nope.
So it's Pengasson, and there's this issue of casual labor.
Oh, okay. Contractual labor?
Contractual labor, which NLC is not tackling.
Okay. All right. I would like us to, we were talking earlier on about minimum wage, and during Michael Imodu's time in 1945, he led a groundbreaking protest for the improved cost of living allowance. So I'd like you to compare that time. What did he do? Because it was successful. What did he do that's different from what the administration of Joe Ajaero, or let's just make some comparison here. How was he able to achieve it?
Joe Ajaero and NLC nowadays concentrate much more on minimum wages. There are other incentives that can be attached to the working conditions of workers, transportation, health, pension schemes. It will surprise you, I'm a pensioner in one way or the other, but it's unbelievable the rigors that pensioners go through in this country. Labour is not paying attention to that. Labour is not talking about the climate change. Climate change. Labour should be part of the education of the people on climate change, sustainable living, skills, and utilization of our raw materials. How do we utilize our raw materials? Labour should look into these directions, and maybe
we can make progress in that.
Okay. A lot of people believe that the NLC has been politicized. They're struggling with differentiating the Nigeria Labour Congress from the Labour Party. And what exactly are the expectations, especially with the fact that in the last election, the Labour Party was an underdog. It came out from nowhere, and then we had the obedient movement and all of that. So the Labour Party is now one of the three horsemen, as in the Nigerian political space. So now separating the NLC from the Labour Party, it's an issue, both for the NLC and even for the governments themselves. So how do you think that, or how would you think that the administration, the NLC administration, should navigate this murky waters at this time?
I'm confused myself, because I'm wondering what Labour is doing with politics. The Nigerian Labour Congress should pull itself off from the Labour Party. They are not politicians, they are trade Labour leaders. Therefore, face Labour and forget about politics.
But the Labour Party was birthed from the Labour Union.
From the Labour Union.
The Labour Party was birthed from the Labour Union.
I think that's an anomaly. I think it's an anomaly. And it disturbs
labor
and
unions
distracts.
across the world
It
have
disturbs-
their own.
Yes, but when the president of the NLC tries to get involved in political issues and
Okay.
politics itself, it calls for some correction. I don't think labor should involve itself with politics. Essentially, there's so many things, there's so many issues concerning the common man on the street that labor has to tackle, has to offer solutions. And labor should not just criticize, it should offer solutions. Therefore, labor itself needs training. Some of the our leaders need to be trained in skills, in technology. We are having AI now. Artificial intelligence is going to affect workers. AI should, Nigeria local labor Congress should be looking at that direction, training labor leaders on skills in technology, in different fields of human endeavor, so that they can be able to talk authoritatively on issues. And I think Pegasus is doing a lot in that direction. Okay. And the TUC and others need to collaborate and talk about technical issues. We are now in the age of technology. Not all the time you organize sit-down strike and all that, or disturb production. And you don't make your feelings known by that.
Okay, so and let me take you back to one of the statements you made from the beginning, and you referenced pension. And that's quite an ordeal when it comes to the employment environment in Lagos and how in Nigeria, I beg your pardon, and how it is managed. When you look at other clients, you see that the elderly are taken care of. The elderly are taken care of. In fact, they are given the prime place, or like what is called moderately the prime place in society, where at that age they don't work anymore and they earn, and they are exempted from some level of tax. And this sort of system is completely absent in Nigeria. You spoke about how labor should divert their attention here in this direction. Do you think if we do that, we will get anywhere meaningful?
I think labor should go forward by associating itself with the National Assembly. In other words, look at the number of states that they want to create now. The labor is not saying anything. In fact, you have to have about almost 24 new states now. It's unacceptable and it's not reasonable. Labor is not talking about that. And every senator now wants to have a state in his backyard. This is a political crisis, political chaos, let me call it that way. I think we should manage with what we have and encourage state governors to look inwards. I don't believe that there's no state in Nigeria that has no resource to generate and get more revenue. The fact is that the governors are just arrogant.
All right. Let's look at the
and stubborn. The state governors, they will not listen to anybody. And they are the tier of government that we should really face and correct.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at the people now, whom the Labour Party or the Labour Union represent. People have seen, or people don't seem disinterested in activities of Labour Union these days. And I'm sure during the time of Michael Amodu, there was a lot of support from the people. But nowadays, if Joe Ajaero comes up and says, tomorrow we're going on strike, I don't know who would even listen to them. So how did we go from the time of Michael Amodu to where we are right now, and what can be done? How can there be some sort of, should I call it encouragement, awareness, for the people to be able to...
Reorientation.
Yes, maybe a reorientation, so that the people can, because NLC needs the people, they need the backing of the people.
But sadly, their relevance is being questioned now by the people themselves. We are beginning to lose confidence in the Labour Congress because they don't prepare well enough for negotiations. That's what I think. They rush to the negotiating table and come out 24, 48 hours later with lame excuses and no concrete results. It happens all the time. So it affects the psyche of the worker, it affects the psyche of whoever, even the politicians, that these people are not serious people. The Labour movement in Nigeria should restructure itself and be more technically and data-based driven, so that They can tackle government and tackle agencies that they are talking about. They can talk about issues authoritatively with data and figures. But this usual pedestrian attitude to labor and workers, no. I think the strategy has to change.
Do you think they are carrying the people along? Labor union, are they carrying the people along?
Not now. I don't think so. I don't think so. Just like you said, Nigerian Labour Congress itself, the Nigerian Labour Front needs rebranding. It needs rebranding. Because, let's face it, even among the students, I have grandchildren who are students, and the mention of the name NLC itself is repulsive to students, to Nigerian students. And you begin to wonder where we are going. Where we're going. So that is the way to begin. We begin with the students, let them rebrand themselves, more education, more advocacy, and then association, collaboration with students, bodies, women affairs bodies, and that kind of NGOs. The Nigerian Labour Congress cannot do this alone. It needs the media. And Joe, if you know, was a journalist. He started in the Vanguard. We all started in the Vanguard in those days. He should use his constituency, that is the media, to rebrand and reform the Nigerian Labour Congress. The TEC leader too,
Festus
Osifo should not be an armchair critic. You have a litany of woes, litany of worries, but what is the way out? How do you plan to do it? And it seems he's always behind the NLC. He doesn't have his own ideas. That's what I think. I think he's short of ideas. All he does is to follow Joe Ajero to every conference.
No, but do you think he should, are they on the same level? The NLC is the umbrella organization of all trade unions. So I think Alex Osifo is where he should be. You don't think so?
I think he should be more creative. More creative,
to be visible,
more proactive,
to be visible,
and more outspoken. If I want to use that word.
All right, thank you so much, Bayo Olaoye, a veteran journalist who joins us today.
Thank you very much.
In the May Day conversation. When you mention Nigerian Labour Congress, one name that comes to mind in not too long generation is Adams Oshiomhole. I believe Olumide spoke about him, Mobalade even spoke about him. In his own days, he was the fear of both the military and civilian administrations. But before Oshiomhole, there had been a name that Nigerians in that generation were conversant with, and that name is Michael Modo. He defies authority. He is very, very conscious about labor and the interest about labor, and his exploits in labor goes beyond the border of labor, even into democracy. Let's take a listen.
Michael Atokame Omnibus Imodu was born on September 7, 1902, in the Afemai region of present-day Edo State. Orphaned early in life, he moved to Lagos in 1922 in search of better opportunities. There, he undertook many jobs before securing employment as a linesman with the Post and Telegraphs Department. His aptitude and commitment later earned him a position with the Nigerian Railway Corporation, a critical artery of the colonial economy. It was within the railway system that his political consciousness blossomed and his engagement with labor rights began in earnest. By 1939, Imodu had risen to become president of the Railway Workers' Union, which was the first union registered under the Trade Union Ordinance of 1938. He transformed the union into a formidable voice for workers, demanding fair wages, improved working conditions, and an end to the casualization of labor. His fearless agitation against colonial repression earned him both admiration and resistance. In 1941, he led a delegation to present workers' grievances to the colonial administration, and by 1943, he was dismissed from service and detained under emergency wartime regulations. Imodu's detention sparked national outrage, propelling him into the spotlight as a symbol of anti-colonial resistance. Upon his release in 1945, he led the historic general strike, demanding an improved cost of living allowances, COLA, for workers. That protest marked a turning point in Nigeria's labor history, showcasing the power of organized labor as a political force. Beyond unionism, Imodu saw the intersection of workers' rights and national liberation. In 1946, he joined the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, and served on its executive committee alongside nationalist icons like Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. He later led both the All Nigeria Trade Union Federation and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, helping to consolidate the labor movements. He also formed alliances with global labor and socialist movements, drawing ideological inspiration from international working class struggles. In the Second Republic of the 1980s, Imodu served as Deputy National President of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, under the leadership of Aminu Kano, another icon of the masses. His lifelong commitment to justice and the common worker earned him national recognition. In 1986, the federal government established the Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies in Ilorin, Kwara State, Nigeria's premier institution for labor education and research. In 2013, the Lagos office of Nigeria Labour Congress was also renamed in his honor. Michael Imodu passed away on June 22, 2005, at the age of 102. Yet, his legacy endures. His boldness, ideological clarity, and relentless advocacy continue to inspire labor unions, civil society, and reform-minded politicians in Nigeria. On this Workers' Day, as Nigeria workers reflect on their rights, challenges, and progress, the memory of Pa Imodu stands tall, a reminder that resistance, when rooted in justice, can reshape our union. Grace Komolafe, Souq News Television.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Hello, Nigeria. Hello, Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Bogaballs, and please keep watching Souq News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, Souq News. Keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souq News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
My name is Souq Badegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Aton Kene. I am the head of MSME banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souq News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Now, it's not out of place that when we talk about labor, we talk about a workforce, not only of an organization, but this time of a nation. And we're going to a little bit of the micro level. Every organization has made it a point of responsibility to have a human resource manager in place in order for them to enhance the output of the organization, and to have a well and strategically deployed the skills that an organization have. And without the person of a human resource manager, I doubt if an organization will be able to do that effectively. And this May Day, we have on this table with us Emmanuel Olise. He is a human resource. I wanted to say human rights, talking about Joe Ajiro, a human resource manager and expert. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You're very much welcome. Yeah. You look so, I know when I was introducing you, I believe some people will be thinking, I want to see very tall, big, robust man. And when you can saw your gentle me, and you're welcome to the program.
Always look unseeming. They just look. They look like
you never see them coming.
You don't see them coming.
So yes. So human resource, of what significance is it to an organization or a nation?
All right, thank you for this opportunity. I will start by saying human resource is like the driver that drives the vehicle. If there's no driver in the vehicle is just static, it's not going nowhere. So for every organization, there is need for a human resource personnel, human resource manager, human resource officer, human resource director to direct the affairs of the organization. The job of the human resource cuts across managing the organization. Every organization has their, what is it called? They have their objectives, their goals they want to achieve, they have their vision, their core values. All of this are in the care of the human resource manager. Is the one that helps the organization to drive these goals. There's what they call workforce planning. He plans for the workforce, the right set of people that will work in the organization at the right time and doing the right thing. And then he manages them, all their activities, their day-to-day activities, of course. He supervises and he ensures that they are in compliance with policies. There are different policies that the employees must be compliant with. So he ensures that there are compliance, there are no compliance issues, and he ensures that all of these goals are completely achieved at the end of the day. So that's basically what the human resource manager's work is about.
Okay, I see that, yes.
All right, if I might ask, now there's this statement I've heard that a human resource manager is there to defend the employer, not the employee. So affirm or debunk this statement?
Well, I would neither affirm nor debunk. It depends, it varies. It depends on individual. The context, exactly, thank you. As human resource manager, we are intermediaries. That means we are neither on the side of the employees nor on the side of the employers. What we do basically is to, create an avenue where there's a synergy between both parties. If the employees are having their challenges, we try to help them sort them out. And if the employers are not meeting up with negotiations and their obligations to the employees, we try as much as possible to come in and ensure that these things work together. There's a perfect harmony between the employer and the employee. So we are not there for the employee. We are not there for the employer. We're just there to make sure that things get done the right way.
So what role do you think, what more do you think the government can do for, the workforce in Nigeria at this time, the economy with what it is now? What more do you think on the part of the government, I'm talking about fiscal policies now, what more do you think the government can do for the workforce?
There's this saying that our heroes, the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain, Every day, even what about the heroes that are still alive, that are still very much in active service. So I think that policy should be in place for starting with this minimum wage, with the inflation and all the economic, problems here and there. I don't think that minimum wage is good enough for the Nigerian employee. So they should start by looking into that, increasing it so that, people would, as you're going to work every day, you are at the end of the month, you're smiling to the bank and, the market is not pulling you down, everything is not taking everything from you. So they should look into that. And also, fair pay. Yeah, that also has to do with minimum wage and putting a lot of things in place to ensure that workers are well compensated. Though that we have some organizations like in the factories where people constantly have hazards, are exposed to hazards and work-related hazards.
And safety.
Yes, health and safety issues to ensure that these things are in place so that in case of any of such hazards and all of that, the employees are well compensated and well taken care of. Okay,
so we are going to be going back and forth on the part of the employer and on the part of the employee. One of the key things I have recognized from the actions of HR practitioners is their knack to look out or to extract productivity from an employee in an organization? How do you do that? Now, whilst you are addressing that, I need you to look at the larger context in Nigeria, and most especially the civil service. With our level of performance, do you think we have HR practitioners in that space, and do you think they are doing a positive job?
Well, let me start from the civil service. I think, of course, we have HR practitioners in the civil service, but whether or not they are doing an excellent job is what I cannot precisely say now. It still varies from organization to organization. For instance, in the custom service, for instance, Nigerian custom service, you have HR practitioners there doing their thing. So you cannot judge the HR practitioner in Nigerian custom service with HR practitioner in any other civil
aviation.
Exactly, exactly. So it depends on the organization. And then in terms of productivity, I think that Nigerians are actually doing well when it comes to, that's why you see when we travel abroad, the first thing that comes to play is the Nigerian spirit. We can thrive in any economy, any situation. Nigerians can survive anywhere. Put them anywhere, in the moon, anywhere, Nigerians will always survive. Why? Because that spirit has been, that culture has been imbibed in us. I would say we are very productive. We are very, very productive. And HR practitioners are across board are doing their best to ensure this, that there's a high level of productivity in organizations where they find themselves. But there are also factors that come to play that makes the productivity level to drop. It could be internal factors, maybe from the organization, HR managers not being able to, or rather, I would put it this way, employers calling the shots. We have a lot of employers dictating the tune to HR managers, what they should say, what they should do, how they should treat employees. So I think that if they allow the HR managers, if they let them do their jobs, then productivity level will increase. So that's just the only aspect I think that is making productivity in some organization, productivity level to drop in some organizations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now you mentioned that, excuse me, employers should allow HRs, human resource managers, to do their job.
Yes, to a large extent.
To a large extent.
Yeah.
So, whereby a human resource manager finds out that the employer is not allowing him to do his job, how do you draw the line? How do you look boldly at your employer, the one who is paying your bill, to say, this is not how your company should run, this is how it should run?
Well, there are people like that. There are people that, well, I'll take myself as an example. For instance, I'm a sticker for excellence in anything I do. I always try as much as I can to lay the cards out, So if my employer, for instance, is not doing the right thing, I'll call his attention to it. There is little or there isn't much we can actually do to help this situation, because first, you are answerable to your employer. He's the one that pays the bills. But we always try as much as we can to let them know, if you don't do this right way, if you don't go this right direction, then in the future, this is what is going to happen. You try as much as you can to let them know. And if they buy, it's fine. If not, you just keep trying as much as you can to ensure that they follow and do the right thing.
Okay.
All right. If I may ask, last question. In a case whereby you've told the employer and he doesn't agree, is there any sort of legal action? Is there any sort of body you can maybe report or take this matter to escalate this matter?
Reporting your employer.
To protect the employee in a way.
Well, even if there was a body, I don't think it's even a right thing to do. It's something you can always talk about. I believe in dialogue. We can always talk about these things. Find a time when the employer is in a good mood. Just look for an opportunity, a time when that is very appropriate to have such discussions with them. I'm sure employers, of course, they started the business because they want the very best for the organization. So definitely they would want to listen to you if you are presenting it to them in a way that they understand. So just looking out for different strategies to presenting this to them I think that's what any HR manager should do, and not suing your employer.
Okay, before we go, people in your line of profession,
Yes.
they have this specialty of identifying talent.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Okay. First, we have there's a thing called appraisal, performance appraisal. So, from at the point of recruitment, we get a lot of CVs. After advertisement has been placed, we get a lot of CVs. Now, those CVs are screened against some requirements that's been laid down. They will get those the ones that best aligns with the job description that we're looking for. Then once we get them and we onboard them, they come on board. Then we use what is called performance appraiser to gauge their performance, to know if they are actually doing well or not. And then while doing this performance appraiser, we get to know their strengths and their weaknesses, and from there we know the ones that are doing excellently well based on their performance appraisal, and also physical observable features. We get to know the ones that are doing well, and we do all we can to encourage them.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Olise.
Thank you.
Human resource expert.
Yeah.
And that will be our conversation with the HR expert. Now we're going to break. Now, on that break, when we are back, we shall be, turning the limelight to the sports session. Stay with us.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Marse Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, Souq Enlightenment.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the outer marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos' financial district. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. Souq Enlightenment.
Hello, Nigeria. Hello, Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Buggaballs, and please keep watching Souq News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, Souq News. Keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souq News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love you bad.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job. Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market, located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010,
Hello, it's nice to be back. My name is Souq, John Rogers Souq, and I'm live on Souq Sports. It's Souq TV, and we're back. Happy Workers' Day to everyone out there. And let's talk about money, business of sport. Now, for those that are aware, in the last 4 days, it's been heating up. Some lost, some won, some drew, and monies have been made. I'm talking about the UEFA Champions League. First legs have been played, decided, and let's get straight to what happened. It was a full house at Arsenal. They faced PSG on Tuesday in the first leg, and that semi-final brought in a whole lot of talks, money falling, betting, and all that. Now, it ended just in the 4th minute. A goal was scored, and that ended it. Dembele, congratulations, PSG won. 3 points in the bag and 1 goal. Now, let's get straight to the metrics. Attendance at Emirates Stadium stood at 59,664. Now, you know that Arsenal has the most expensive ticket when it comes to the Premier League. Now do the maths and summation, and tell me what is happening. Pay-per-view, we've only gotten that from Canal Plus Foot, 2.74 million viewers. That's when the match started, but it got to a peak of 3.1 million. Now, if you also do the maths, you see that a whole lot is happening. That is just from Canal Plus. Imagine what is happening from all other pay-per-view stations. A lot of money was made from that first leg alone. Now, let's see the second match between Barcelona and Inter. Everyone was predicting Barcelona was going to take the day, but the Nazarosi said this is not going to happen. Catalonia was on fire. It ended 3-3. Now, Denzel Dumfries, congratulations. He was involved in all of the goals, and Yamal had his masterclass shine for Barcelona. Now, both have 1 point each. Second leg is going to be a cracker. The attendance at Camp Nou was 50,314. Now, let's break it down. For those that are in the know, we know that 15 million euro is already there for 4 teams that have qualified for the semi-finals. Talk about sponsorship. Talk about how much is going to be made. If they qualify for the final, that's a whole lot of money is going down. Then let's get down to what's happening in Africa. A particular country is making us proud, and that is Rwanda. Now, for every match you get to see, be it in Europe, be it in some part of Asia, you get to see Visit Rwanda. It's always big business when sports meets tourism. And Visit Rwanda is expanding and growing its presence in European football. Boldly, they have taken a major step into the market. Now they have agreed a back-of-share deal with Spanish La Liga giant Atletico de Madrid. So, hey, next time when you see people flying and all airline books heading to Rwanda, you know what is happening. What do we want to see? We want to see acronyms like Check Out Lagos. There's a lot of Chelsea fans here in Lagos, in Nigeria. Let's get to see that kind of branding. Let me get back to the people on this side, the guys that know, and let's talk about this money. We get to see Visit Rwanda, Visit Rwanda, Visit Rwanda. When are we going to see Visit Lagos?
You that question. You know you are the genius. Now, one of the things you said that caught my attention was the 50 million
15.
pound. 15 million pounds.
15 million euros.
15 million euros, rather.
Just for qualifying.
For qualifying. How many teams?
4 teams.
4 teams, 15 million. So let's even assume that we are going to share it among the 4 teams. That's about 50
million per team.
For each team?
For each team.
Okay. 59,664 fans who come to watch the match.
Okay.
In Nigeria, Nigerian Football Premier League, I don't think we even pay attention to the number of fans who come to watch. But the thing is, when we have something that we can appreciate, there's violence, and this prevents investment in that particular sector. What do you think the country or the Ministry of Sports can do concerning that?
What we will do, we will take our time to talk about it because we know somebody has won the Nigerian league, but I'll get to break that down. But now let's look at this particular money coming from the foreign players, those plying their trades outside Africa. Now we have several of them. Those are also looking forward to getting in there. We have the Osimhen that they want to buy. We have the Iwobis that they want to buy. We have the Dembeles. Okay, we have the entire French team, in quote, African French team playing for all clubs around. Now, let's also look at that particular money and those investments and those huge, humongous money. Mind you, YouTube is 20, and they have opened up streaming down to in billions of dollars. These are things we're looking forward to Africa also emulating. It's all about business. Let's see the opportunity. Why are we not getting there? But this is a question for another day. Let's get to the last story. Get it to where you were. Remo Stars, congratulations. For those that were busy wondering, yes, 2024 Nigerian Premier League Football League champion is no other than Remo Stars. And we say big congratulations. Now they were crowned on Sunday. That happened after they beat Niger Tornadoes by a goal. Now this is good history because they happen to be the second private-owned team to win the league. That's after Udoji. That's 1996. That's a long time ago. So today, Ikene Bombers, I call them, Ikene Warriors, congratulations. And the cup is coming to the West after a very long time. We want to see things like this, not just government-owned teams. I'm coming back to the question you asked. How can we see this amount of money coming into our football? Before you get there, the prize money for winning the league is 200 million.
In Nigeria?
Yes, in Nigeria.
200 million?
Only. With a full stop.
Well, that's well, it's not a bad place to start.
It's not
something. But you still see less people, investing in owning teams in the country. Why is that? Where's that discouragement then coming from?
The discouragement is because 99.9% of the teams are owned by government. And the government of the state use the teams as a political tool. And 99.9% of the teams that are privately owned don't control NFF. government controls NFF, in quotes.
So we need to deregulate the football industry in Nigeria.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's quite unfortunate. All right, I'd like to ask a question. You kept on mentioning these large figures when you were talking about sports outside the country. So my question now is, you said it also that sports and tourism, they seem to be related, cousins and all that. So what are these governors? What do you think the governors can do? You said this, the governors, they control these football teams. What can they do to draw? Imagine a state that is not generating anything, is generating something from sports. You have people coming in to watch. We have like 59,000 people coming into a particular state. Do you know how much that would generate? That's a whole lot for that particular state. What do you think the governors can actually do? Talking about renovating stadiums if they have, and those that don't have, how can they, build stadiums?
Okay, it's all about positivities. Let's not dwell on the negativities. Even if at one point in time, a particular stadium in the capital city was more like a forest. But let's not go there. Now, let's look at the amount of people. You said 50-something million. Good. Now, imagine the hotel accommodation. Imagine the transportation. They will feed. They will shop. So imagine the amount of money they are bringing in to that particular state.
We have a sporting village in Abuja that's doing...
Okay. It's all beautiful. It's still very beautiful.
I just leave that alone.
Okay. But let's emulate Rwanda. Let's emulate Rwanda. Go out there and sell the market. It's a market. That's what we need to understand. We go to the market and you sell. So we get to the market. Pick up a team. Pick up an avenue and put it there. Let tourists come. And we have to give them a product to buy. That's the most important thing. Sport is business. We treat it as such.
Okay. Aliko Dangote wanted to buy Arsenal one time. And can we have the Femi or $10 also come in and buy a team locally? Aliko Dangote come and take up a team locally in Nigeria, and some other rich billionaires that we have in the country do that. Do you think that will give the right spur that the sports industry need for Nigeria to go to the next level?
That's a good start. A very good start.
More privately owned teams. I think that should get us somewhere. If we have more privately owned,
teams in the country. Just the way the Remo Stars you mentioned, going home with 200 million naira. It's great.
It's good. That's a very good one. And we look forward to beautiful, beautiful days ahead. Let's make 2025 something different for Africa, something different for Nigeria. We can also generate oil money from sports. My name is Souq, John Rogers Souq. We'll do this again tomorrow. Thanks for being there, and thanks, team. Be good.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Of the year 2025, and the winner is Souq News Television.
On behalf of the National SME Business Award, the year 2025, we are presenting you SME-centric television station of the year 2025. Winner, of course, is Souq News Television. Congratulations.
Broadcast. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And to present the next award will be the National
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
My name is Souq. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoin you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Aton Keme. I am the head of MSME banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souq News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
The National Theatre, Igomu. Built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, Festac, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of a legendary contemporary Nigerian artist, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged Festac 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries, and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by techno expert Stro, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theater complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of large green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre, Souq Enlightenment. The Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of 3 men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodu Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the 3 sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the 3 Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. 3 white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The 3 Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowopopo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years.
Back, many thanks for joining us on the program. In the May Day conversation and discourse, we are not done with you yet, and we have someone who's joining us on the platform, someone who you are already familiar with, who you're aware of, and whose perspective in issues sometimes can be controversial, but in other times is straight to the point, hits straight at the very heart, and hits the nail at the head. Is Dr. Idahosa. Welcome to the program.
Very good to be here with you. It's a pleasure being by your side.
Olumide.
Olumide.
Yes. Welcome to the program once again.
Thank you.
Now, labor unions and strikes and national development. Let's find the balance. What's your perspective?
Well, I think there's a whole lot that needs to be done with labor unionism in Nigeria, especially, because I think, in my personal view, I feel there's a need to decolonize the Nigerian labor union. The reason is not far-fetched. If you see from where we're coming from the time of Pai Modu, the whole idea and the goal of the labor was to see how to move the white people out of the scene so that black people can govern themselves. And the problem has been that since Imodu left and all successive labor leader in Nigeria has followed that trajectory, as if we are decolonizing ourselves. And that's a big problem in labor unionism in Nigeria. So what that has meant is that every labor union leader feels that it's an antagonist to the government, but without realizing that the white people are no longer here. That is, we ourselves now we have to articulate how we can become better people and build a society that, of course, will be resilient, where, of course, we will all enjoy the benefit of work. But unfortunately, that has not happened in the last 60-something years in Nigeria, because we are struggling with ourselves, and labor, to a very large extent, has been an impediment to national development and growth.
Okay, so there's this adage that says, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you not think that labor is there to actually negotiate a balance between the government and the governed, who have the tendency to be very, very corrupt? Now they have power in their hands.
Well, when we talk about corruption, I really want to veer into that terrain. Have you asked yourself, for example, let's look at NLC. Every successive leader of NLC, after being either president or vice president, had become a multi-billionaire. Now, when you look at the status of workers, people who are supposed to be junior staff, where's the money coming from? Is the money coming from their salaries? Or where are they making the money from? There is no one single of them that you can mention in Nigeria today who don't have multiple houses everywhere, haven't just become union leaders. So the question you ask yourself is, are these people making money off the other workers, or are they having another work, haven't become union leaders? These are questions that, of course, Nigeria need to talk about. So when we are talking about corruption, we also need to look into NLC and look at what are they doing, what are the inside dealings that is making them so rich when they leave office.
One or two of them have ventured into politics.
Oh yes, because they have so much money to spend in politics.
But it will be if when you look at those persons, it will be told that they have this social asset, this social capital that paved the way for them to have this to be politically endearing to the people. Just a moment, because they have really proved themselves and their worth when they were championing the labor. You see,
the problem here is not about whether they have grassroots support. The problem is the asset base that they have. Yes, anybody can win election. But not everybody. Take, for example, you are a level 13 officer downward, and you buy a house in Ikoyi. Where do you make the money from? And you are fighting for the right of the people that you feel that are underserved, people that are not paid well, then you become a multi-billionaire overnight.
Are you saying that because they have side ventures, it doesn't justify them speaking up for the people?
It's not side venture. It's actually that the unionists are profiting on the head of the workers, and that is the issue that I'm actually hammering, because when you're talking about labor unionism and activism, you see, what we have seen in Nigeria over the years, that people become activists, and even serve as activists, is that they are getting a political appointment, or they are becoming a multi-millionaire, somehow, because they are using the people to profit themselves. And that is why I'm talking about the decolonization of the labor movement in Nigeria, so that we can come to the table and say, oh, we're fighting for the workforce, and we are having an idea that those who we are fighting for, they are having the same and equal access and opportunity like us who are their leaders. Because when you're talking about leading by example, so if the labor union, because you become a labor NSC president, then of course you become a multi-millionaire, then everybody is struggling. That is why you see that over the years, there has been this internal struggle of who become the head of the labor union. And this is why you see they are not as effective as they should be, or as they were during the period of decolonization.
All right, Doctor, if I may ask, for clarifications, can you shed more light on how you feel these labor union leaders are making money? I really want to know where
I would also,
money is actually,
what
are they turning into billionaires?
That
is it that they are
is justifying this particular conversation? Now, if you say they have become multi-billionaires, and then let's go back a bit, the most popular NLC president we've had in about 10, 20 years is Comrade Adams
Oshiomhole.
He became a governor. He's now
a senator.
A lawmaker. All right, so a senator. Thank you. And then now we come to Joe Ajaero, who was recently punched in Imo State some days ago.
Oh, he's been beaten black and blue in days back.
You know, so I would love to know, you know, what exactly is the precipice as which you came up with this alleging statements as regards, you know, them having these properties.
You see, what I'm talking about is that you're a journalist. You just go do the investigations and see where these people live. And then, of course, you can align their lifestyle with who they were as Labour president. Because what they're talking about unionism. Because in terms of unionism, I'm going to come to that because I'm going to come to NUT and some other unions. Absolutely. And you see, because, yes, take for example the NUT. They collect money from all the staff. We don't see the auditor report of those funds.
Nigerian Union of Teachers.
That everybody is paying, and we're paying, and of course, we don't see the auditor report in the public. Because if you're going to equity, your hands must be very clean. That's the point I'm making. Take, for example, during the heydays of the military in Nigeria, labor unions were given buses. They have over 200 buses. Now, today, where are those buses? We can't even see the carcass. Can we begin to even put a searchlight on what is happening here so that we are not blindfolded by the mere fact that somebody is just anti-government? So it's not just enough to be anti-government. That's the point I'm making. It's enough to see that you who is accusing somebody of being corrupt, you must come to equity with a very clean hand, and we can see your record that you are not as corrupt as the people that you are alleging.
All right. So I want to revert to the second question I asked you, where you started off with us, you know, taking another look at labor leaders who become millionaires overnight. And let's equally address the part that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And labor is being one of the instruments in the Nigerian political space to make sure that they checkmate the executive excesses of the CEOs at the center and the subnationals. Do you not think labor was playing that part? Or have you not seen the impact of that in both the federal and the subnationals?
When you're talking about the impacts, you see, Nigeria is even beginning to give up on labor and agitation. Because number one, because you see, when they're even talking about the corruption in terms of power, you must be talking that they have the essence of power. There was an argument some 2 years ago when, of course, ASU went on strike. And this conversation came on air and they said, look, you've been on strike for 8 months. Now you are asking for your salaries to be paid and government is succumbing to paying your salary. How do the students benefit? Some students lost 2 years to ASU strike. And they are striking on behalf of the universities. So that the university environment becomes something that everybody can stay around and see that we are making progress. Take a deep search on TED Fund, for example, who collects money from public companies and they plunge it into the university. Between Jonathan and now, TED Fund has done over 6 trillion from companies. How does this reflect in the academic environment? Can we assess what is happening in the academic environment and say, look, the money that, of course, that the companies are paying, that government is dispersing to TED Fund, that what is produced is equal to the amount that is spent. So because when you're talking about checkmating, you have to understand that who is checkmating the checkmater? That's a question that we need to ask. So as a country, because what is on my heart is as far that labor unionism, we saw it as a tool against the state. Pre-colonial, pre-independence. Now we are independence, we have not been able to transition from this anti-state posture to developmental posture. So everybody who becomes a union leader, all that we think about, for example, is how do we pull the system down? Let's address one very critical issue that, of course, nobody is talking about. Take, for example, the issue of productivity of workers. How productive are workforce?
The civil service.
The civil service generally. Because the state of our development is traceable to the same workforce.
Okay.
Money that are made for critical infrastructure. Take for example, we have, see, this is where of course you can find activism, real at work. The last time Umahi took over the Ministry of Works and was insisting that, look, we need, because contracts that were awarded to some contractors, that people were using fake materials to build, and he was insisting that we should use concrete. And he said, as an engineer, he did the analysis and the cost was almost the same. But the workers were protesting, and then he asked, on what side were they? The side of the nation or the side of the contractor? So these are questions that we as a nation need to ask. And that's why I always end this way. Professor Peter Ike had argued that the problem with Nigeria is the fact that we still have not been able to see the state, the civil society, the civil state as part of us. We still see it as alien. And so how we deal with the state is we deal with the state as alien, and because of this we lose manpower. Now, if you were to put and quantify what strike and disruption of national economy has cost us as a country, you can begin to put value on it, and you will know that really we have not fared very well.
All right.
In terms of
yes, you want to ask?
Yes, thank you very much. Doctor, you said quite a lot. While I see the line you're towing as regards the effect or the impact NLC is supposed to have on productivity and all of that. But are we saying that the NLC has not been effective at all in any of this conversation, or that the government does not have its own role it has to play? Because if working conditions are correct, I think there are certain things. Say, for example, you brought up the ASU issue. The ASU issue is not a Tinubu issue. It's not a Buhari issue. It's something that started all way back to the MOU with Jonathan. And they keep coming back per administration. The administration goes, oh, that we was not during our time. What are we supposed to do? The Minister of Education comes and says, oh, it wasn't during our time. Minister of Labor is saying, if you want to go, go. When you have conversations like that, I understand that there's a cost deficit on NLC. Yes, they call strikes, and most times the government calls their bluff. But don't you think that the government itself also needs to step up?
Well, I think government needs to step up. And I think people must also come to terms with this reality. Everywhere in the world where we get to, government are regulators. And they're actually not fund drivers. Now, what we have seen with this protest, and these are the real core things that we need to have the conversation around. When ASU is asking government for more money, now the question is, where is the money coming from? So you see that you are overbleeding the corporations who are paying the taxes, and that's why you see that, of course, that education tax keep going up. Now, but there are issues with the internal administrations of the universities, who says themselves that they are not revenue centers, they are renting hostels to students, they are making pure water in some, bottled water in some institutions, and these are revenue.
Bread.
And they are under-declared. And they don't see that if government had to pay more money, it has to flow from the workforce. You see workers who are, of course, printing, what they call it, receipts, duplicates, that the revenues that are supposed to be accruable to the government, of course, those revenues are lost. Now, all these things should be the center focus of the labor unions. And that is what they should actually be addressing, so that when you can clean up your house, you can actually go down to the street and tell the people, look, yes, my house is clean now, your own house is not clean. But just pointing a hand at somebody, but you are not doing very well.
Doctor, thank you very much. All of that it's a spiral effect. It's resultant from issues that have built up. It is not something that we expect labor to solve. It is not something that the schools are going to solve. So now you are telling schools, I mentioned this earlier on as regards the fact that NLC is focusing on, is majoring on the minor. at this point now? Because most of all these issues are systemic issues. It's not, oh, minimum wage, let's look for more money or let's get more money or whatnot. Do you think it is even right at all that the federal government should be the ones, to federal institutions rather, should be the ones making these monies themselves when the government, well, the nation is making money. We can afford a lot of things.
Yes, I agree with you. But you see, the argument here is the nation is making so much money. There's no doubt about that. Now, the money is in the hands of the civil servants, for example, who are also members of these unions. And that is the point I'm making. So if I have, for example, let's go to the oil and gas sector. In the last 20 years, Nigeria has invested so much money. What we have spent on overhead, maintaining a refinery that does not work, is not up to a quarter of what Dangote used in building a refinery that's working.
Is that a labor issue?
Oh yeah, yes, this is a question. Now, if it's not labor issues, because you see, there are workers in there who are members of NSC, who are supposed to be telling us what is happening in these areas.
Okay, yeah, before
also, the complicity of the workforce in the corrupt nature of our society is what we have to address. Because the problem that people talk about, in short, one past president had described civil servants.
So, Doctor, I understand where you're coming from, but I think we need to go on a break now. Yes.
Okay, so before I know we're due for a break, but before then, please, Olumide wanted to ask a question, and I need him to do that.
All right. So, from let me summarize it. You're saying the problem is from the top, if I'm correct, with NLC. So let's be positive here. Let's look for a solution. The problem is from the top. So we look at.
We have just a minute for that.
Let's look at how we can elect good leaders. Just like Nigeria, we always complain that good leaders are what we need and all that. So how do we elect to avoid all this? How do you elect good leaders in the NLC who would actually advocate for the people? And also, how do we get the people to participate? Because it seems as if there's a disenfranchisement from the people and the NLC.
You see, the challenge that we'll have and what we need to deal with, I obviously agree that workers are not well paid, especially in the public sector. I don't have a problem with all that. But you see, if you want to get a workforce that's well paid, what you need to do is actually to determine is either you are going to reduce the size of your workforce, which NLC does not want. You want to charge more money, NLC does not want. But they want a miracle. Okay. So nobody governs with miracle.
All right.
So it's for us to face reality, and it is when we deal with reality that we can see things sorted out.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll go on a break. And when we return, the conversation continues. To stay with us.
It is pertinent that we rise together as comrades, as brothers, sisters, mothers and fathers to reclaim the civic space, regain our voice collectively, together, and demand what is right for all of us. We must ensure that what we fought for years back, the freedom of information, must be thoroughly effected so that there is access to what happens with governance at every point.
We need empowerment through collective action. Except we come together, I keep on emphasizing, we may not be able to achieve any other thing. We need to reclaim our civic space because it will enable us to exercise fundamental civil rights. We need to work with members and stakeholders to advocate for policy changes that address economic hardship. We need to provide training and education that will equip our members with the upskilling needed to retain their job and access better payment.
The economic hardship is so high. And in the midst of this economic hardship, what they regard as a take-home is nothing to take us even near our home. It's a starvation wage and not a living wage. And so we continue to fight, to demand. We will not rest on our oars until victory is gained.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Of the year 2025, and the winner is Souq News Television.
On behalf of the National SME Business Award, the year 2025, we are presenting you SME-centric television station of the year 2025. Winner, of course, is Souq News Television. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And to present the next award will be the National...
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Hello, Nigeria. Hello, Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to watch, always watch Souq News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Boggaballs, and please keep watching Souq News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, Souq News. Keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souq News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. Now, before we went on that break, or when we went on that break, you saw the NLC and some of its sister unions coming together, and I won't use the word agitating, but this time putting it in the right perspective, calling for reforms. With regards to some of their agitations or some of their demands from the governing authorities, and we have moved away from the first conversation we're having with Dr. Idahosa. Now we're going to the next phase of it. NLC is calling for reforms. What advice would you have for them that could tailor towards business, economy, development in the national workforce?
Well, I think it's quite very ironic that people are looking and asking for a better life, and we feel that the only way that you can get it is you have to make government control of the system, which is, of course, had been the advocacy of NLC. I have always argued there's no government that can be pro-poor and also be anti-business. the shortest cut to being pro-poor by any government is being pro-business, because it's only when business prosper that poverty can be overcome. And these are the genuine issues, for example, this regime is looking at. We're talking about people are still whining over having market forces, for example, control energy, light, fuel, this one, the rest of it. And we feel that government should be in charge. In short, a lot of people are even advocating that government should control the prices of foodstuff that is coming out from the farm. And of course, it's not government farm, these are private farm. So if government determine how businesses are going to make money, of course, then you cannot attract foreign investors into your space. So to be able to get foreign investors into your space, you have to democratize this space. So we're not ready for democracy, because we're talking about democracy on the one hand, democratizing the politics, but we refuse to align or agree with democratizing the economy. So the only way democracy works is when we are able to democratize both politics and economy at the same time. So that we are having people having freedom to vote, then of course the people who are also producing can, based on the laws of demand and supply, can determine what prices are in the market, and competition shape the operations of the market. And if this does not happen, we cannot get out of where we are.
Okay, so labor, on one hand, it does not have it's not saddled with the responsibility to make laws. So if the onus or the responsibility about democratizing the system comes into the fore, it is the responsibility of the government. Labor on its own is to lobby and to pass across its demands. In that particular sense, let's look at it from this perspective. In the United States, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government, through the instrument of Social Security, reached out to the people at the ebb of society by providing them vouchers for them to have access to some of the basic needs, which include food. In Canada, the civil service way of employment is outsourced to a private organization. So the private organization looked at the modus operandi for employing persons who are productive and will bring in the government desired result into their public space. Why isn't the government in our country towing this line when we talk about policy reforms and the conversation about comparative public administration comes into the fore?
Well, I have argued in several fora, especially when I have to engage with people who are policy makers. And if you engage with public servants, the first thing they tell you and say, oh, our institutions are weak. And I told them, institutions are not humans, and they don't have to be weak or strong. It's human beings that make institutions very strong. If you have strong human beings, strong-willed people, then of course you will find institutions that are strong. Because institutions cannot be strong on themselves, because if you build an institution, it's not a meta. Institution is an abstraction. So when people talk about institutions weak, and this is a problem, because there are human beings who run these institutions, and these human beings have low values. And I think these are the issues that we have to confront as a nation.
The government employed the low values.
No, see, what you're talking about, I had this conversation with somebody recently, and he was having the same government. You see, governments are taken from the midst of the people. You cannot have an overtly righteous people produce such inept and valueless government leaders. What it tells you, if you look at where we have come from since independence till date, and I can continue to mention cases, and you will see how successive government in their generations, we have moved from where we are to where we currently live. In 1972, for example, the Deputy Prime Minister of India at the non-aligned movement meeting made an allusion that the whole of the non-aligned world were looking up to Nigeria for leadership. 1972, our GDP was better than Asia. What has happened? What changed? These people are living with value, and we have dropped our value system. And I think this is the thing that we need really to, this is a conversation that we need to have. It's not just talking about writing reforms. There are a lot of things that we have written in this country that doesn't work. For example, I was in UAE, and we're having a conversation. And one Indian said to me and said, you know, You need to copy a model from India. And I say, oh, tell me about that model. I'm interested in the power sector. And they say, oh, you know what India did? We broke our model, our power sector into 3. We now have generation separately. We have transmission separately. We have distribution separately. Now we now have energy trading. But I said, when did you do that? I said, about 8 years ago. I said, we did our own 15 years ago. Why is it working in India? It doesn't work in Nigeria. People. So there's no law you are going to write. There's no institution you are going to build. There's no reform you are going to embark on. If the mindset of the average man on the street is not changed, those things won't go.
Let me do this before my colleagues come in here. These people who carry out the same work in private organizations, and the private organizations are making lots of money. There are some of the foremost banks now, currently as we speak, that they are selling shares, and they are talking about their assets before profit and their assets after profit. Some of these organizations who are making distinguishing results in this organization are Nigerians who are picked from the same system. Why is it that they abide by these values in the private institutions, in the private organizations, and they seem to be making an obvious result? And in the government institution, we don't do that. Is it that the people are the problem, or the statement that your colleague made to you that the institutions of government are weak in the land is the truth?
Well, I can tell you for free. I'm actually contemplating writing a book that I want to title The Cooperatives. You see, when people talk about Nigeria, I think there are a lot of things that we need to understand. And when you look at the way things are done here, I mean, ask yourself one question, for example. Some company recently were suspended from trading because they are not able to turn in their book in good time. That the year end, and of course the account department will be able to present management account. That you have same account for your company, your shareholder, same account that goes to government. That people cook books. These are not things that we can be thinking about because they happen on a daily basis. And that's why you find that when they say file your report, it's taking forever to achieve because there's a whole lot of billings that are not straightforward. There's a whole lot of billing. You ask yourself, for example, manufacturing, they are going down. The only people who are making money today, really, you're talking about the banks. Because, of course, the laws are skewed toward them.
Well, we have other organizations.
You made bankers your CBN governors, and of course they make law in favor of the bank. All your salaries are deducted at source, and then you declare humongous profits. These are the things we're talking about. So when you want an environment where things work, everybody is treated the same equally, why do you think people are moving out? Why do you think corporations are moving out? Because the environment to do business is hostile. So if you want to actually do business based on the law, you can't make profit here.
Okay. All right, Doctor, let's come back to NLC here. Let's look at the way forward.
Okay.
NLC, they've always complained that there's no government inclusion. I mean, if you look at during the subsidy removal, the packages and the sharing of rice, NLC came out to say they were supposed to be the ones in charge of these packages and all that. So they've always complained about government not bringing them into the table when they discuss these things. What do you think? How can the government, because there seems to be this sort of disunity between the federal government and the NLC. When they come to say, oh, they want this, there's always a back and forth. They go on the table, they discuss, they come out and say, no, it was the deadlock. How can the government, where's the meeting point now?
Priya talked about, it was Omongola talked about the agreement reached, for example, by us some years ago. And of course, they found difficulty in implementing those agreements. You see, there's what they call the blackmail syndrome in public governance in Nigeria. When you get into an agreement with me and you know that what is on the table is not enough to go around everybody, and you are forcing me that if I don't sign this, because of course the government has become a face that the public don't want to see, that they can't believe them. So we push them to the wall. So if you take, for example, if strike goes on for 8 months, so everybody is anti-government and say, look, our students, our children at home, things are not working, government answer these people. So we use strike as an instrument of oppression of those who govern. You see, this is the problem. So if you are NSC, you should know your boundary. What's your boundary? And your boundary is simple. Is you are protecting your workers' right. It's not not to make you part of government. You are not part of government. And you should not be on the table of government. And when laborers are talking, they talk around their company issues. But what you have found that you are having a general union mentality where everybody becomes so powerful and the government become powerless. And where policies are working elsewhere, it gets down somewhere. I wrote an article recently, and I said, what would Nigeria really want? Democracy or dictatorship? Now, in that article, I made reference to the Asian tigers, how they become powerful after the use of SAP, and how Nigeria undo SAP by moving on the street en masse, protesting every single day. And of course, at the end of the day, what of course Babangida called the softening effect on SAP actually derailed SAP from getting to where we are. You can imagine that if in 1991, 1992, 1993, that we have done what we are doing today, Nigeria would have been ahead of China.
Doctor, if we, as we are all here now, we come to an agreement and we sign, and you say this is what you are going to do, and you don't do it, how do you expect us? Do you expect us to just fold our arms and say, okay, doctor said he's not going to do anything, let's go and sit down?
Yeah, but I think this is what I'm talking about. When negotiations are done, in short, because at the heart of labor, is collective bargaining. That people sit down and ask, okay, yes, you are asking for a minimum wage of 500,000. Then how are we going to pay it? Where is the money going to come from? All this argument has to put on the ground, but these arguments are not on the ground. And I have, for example, interviewed somebody, and he told me, I said, oh, let government sell all the assets that are lying low. And I asked him, if after 1 year, they have sold that asset to pay you salary this year, which asset will they sell next year? They're not sustainable argument. It's because the people who are going there, they know that they have the weapon of strike to oppress the government, and therefore the government is
strike actually a weapon of oppression.
It's the last resort. It can.
Yeah, but of course, we have never used it as last resort.
No, it's
always been the first resort.
Just a moment. It has always been deployed by the NLC as a last resort because we know it is a characteristic of the Nigerian government and governing elite to always renege on their promises. And I tell you, they come to the table to sign memorandum of understanding. Labor does not have fangs. It doesn't have teeth. It cannot bite. I don't know how, according to doctors' words, they oppress the government. The Nigerian government is one of the most strongest governments in the world. The Nigerian Labour Congress cannot even dare that. And when Nigeria wanted to dare that, somewhere in Imo State, we all saw what happened to him. He was hospitalized for a moment. So
yeah, that was because he veered out of what was official to him and went into politics of Imo State.
I don't want to go back.
That is the issue. So what was his business in Imo? No business in Imo.
In the Labour Union in the UK is the owner of the Labour Party.
Yes,
and it's in government. If that case is brought to Nigeria, we can say they are on the right standing.
Apologies, you veered into what did not concern. I don't understand, doctor. What happened in Imo State? The Imo workers complained that they were not getting paid, and as the federal authority of the Labour Congress, he stepped in, which is expected. Hold on, doctor. And now you also then you also comment.
Just a moment, please.
He stepped in his authority as the
Labour president.
Labour president. The chairman tried. They couldn't get anything done. He had to step in. Now that's one aspect of it, doctor. When you say that they are coming up with memorandum of understanding and then they come in and they oppress the government with their strikes. Doctor, there's a memorandum of understanding. There are contents in that memorandum of this is what is expected, this is what we want, this is what, and then you come, your side comes, the government signs, the labor signs. Let me go to ASU, for example. What caused that 8-month-long strike? There were 4 major things or 5 major things on that memorandum of understanding. The EPIS conversation was there. The payment issues, it was there.
Now, have you asked yourself, why was the EPIS a conversation in the first place?
We'll get to it.
Doctor, who caused?
No. You need to ask that question. What was the EPIS conversation? So it's not just to say, yes, you have that on the, because it was critical.
Okay.
Even to national law, that what you're saying is that if a system can pay XYZ, why is the system not paying you?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Now, this conversation is not going to end like this. So there's a positive side to it. And doctor is playing a critical part of it. On this note, we are moving on to recently, Souq News Television was awarded a very, very big award. Consecutively as a television station, we've won that. And it is tagged the SME-centric television station of the year in 2024 and 2025. And we have a clip for you to watch. After then, we'll come back to the station to have Doctor talk briefly about it.
Of the year 2025, and the winner is Souq News Television.
On behalf of the National SME Business Award, the year 2025, we are presenting you SME-centric television station of the year 2025. Winner, of course, is Souq News Television. Congratulations.
And to present the next award will be the National Vice President. I think content they say today is king in the media. What we're doing today is that nobody's creating content for you, you're actually creating your own content. Take for example, you produce granite and you're showing on your mobile phone, for example, the process that you take to produce this granite as it comes to the market, and people are looking at it and they say, oh, how hygienic that you are. They're not just buying something because you also find it. Because there are too many narratives in the social media, for example, today, people believe that there are some certain things that want to buy chips on the road and say, oh, they are using chemical to produce it. Now, this discourages a lot of people from participating. But if you create content to show, for example, from your oil, how is genuine.
Welcome back, and many thanks for joining us. Dr. Dausa, that award was presented by the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, 2024-2025, Souq News Television. You were there. Tell us about it.
Well, it was an excitement yesterday for us as a television station to have won that award consecutively in the last 2 years. And that's because of our niche as a TV station. Focus is to see how to amplify what is happening right there in the business space in Nigeria, and then show it and showcase it to the entire world. And of course, there's no TV station in Nigeria that has given ears to SME more than we have done in recent time. And people come on your show on a platter without any strings attached to it. And then, of course, we reach out, looking out for them where they are, and giving them voices and amplifying the beautiful things that they are doing. And so for us, it's an honor well deserved, and we appreciate Asborn for recognizing the modest contribution to national development.
Okay. So was there anything specific they must have? There's a panel that sat in 2024, and they saw the need to pick Souq News Television, and they sat again for 2025, and they're picking Souq News Television. We must be doing something very, very important that is getting to the business community out there. Could you please speak more on that?
You see, what it is that, of course, the testimonial are all there. About 3 or 4 days ago, I was in one government agency, and of course, the DG said, oh, you see, what brought us together was the fact that we offer a platform to him, and it was free of charge. And that he remembered that one other television station came to him, and after giving them interview, and they said, look, you are supposed to pay for this. And of course, they didn't have that money to pay. And so people are appearing on your TV, and of course, we are not giving them the platform that you see things that can contribute to national development. But what we have done is to see how to amplify some of all these things that we are helping people to to grow, and that's a little way of adding to the overall development of society. For us, broadcast is just more than making money. It's a part of corporate social responsibility, that it is our responsibility to ensure that the environment and the space where we occupy, that there's profitability, there's productivity that is going on, and the people who are doing excellently well, they should be celebrated. So when people make mistakes or people commit infractions, we amplify them on television, but when people are contributing to national development, nobody gives them voice, and that is the space we have filled over the years, and that is what Asbon, I think they have seen in us, that is unique and that is not in any other television station.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Idahosa, for coming on this May Day conversation we've had so far.
It was my pleasure to be on the hot seat, and from all the attacks here and there, but I think I'll survive.
Attacking you. you are quite very hot to handle, but we like it that way anyways. So, well, on this note, we're going to break briefly. And when we return, it'll be time for us to call it a day. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Muhammad Yunus was born on the 28th of June 1940 in the village of Batwa, Chittagong, a British Indian colony which is currently known as Bangladesh. He attended Lama Bazar Primary and Secondary School in his village and passed the matriculation examination into Chittagong Collegiate School, where he ranked 16th out of 39,000 students. After his graduation in 1961, Yunus joined the Bureau of Economics as a research assistant and was later appointed lecturer of economics at the Chittagong College. During that time, he also set up a profitable packaging factory on the side. In 1965, he received a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, where he obtained his PhD in economics from the Vanderbilt University Graduate Program in Economic Development. Between 1969 and 1972, after his keen education excellence of apex heights and proportions in the United States, he returned home and was appointed professor of economics at the University of Chittagong. He was eventually appointed onto the board of directors to the United Nations Foundation.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. And this is where we call it a day in the May Day broadcast. It's been a very hot time here in the studio. By hot, I mean considering all the talks, the point of conversation. But we are not on break, and we are not, we're essential workers.
That's the crossroad.
Who's speaking for us? NLC speaking for us.
NLC, of course, they are speaking for us, the journalist branch of NLC. And from me to you, my name is Priye Krumale. Many thanks for watching.
My name is Omobola Sandra. Thank you very much.
Many thanks for tuning in. I am Olumide Shokoya.
Wale Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of arts. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both